big pivotal play and that they shouldn't have taken away this Saw.
Yeah, I mean, you leave Saw in there, it forces either Adagio to be banned by Secret or risk Gankstars picking it up. In that case, we'll see what they want to do here. You know, I just it's crazy to me that after seeing so much Saw like in the past, and it felt like everyone had figured out how to play against it, it's still just so much success.
Yeah, but the thing is, now Team Secret might be able to pick up both Sky and Glaive, and with Adagio out of the picture, Gangsters, they might be stuck in a little peculiar problem.
Well, it's not going to be Sky and Glaive, as Glaive is first picked up for Gankstars Cerberus here. But I mean,
Sky
Secret,
and Blackfeather.
Sky. But it didn't. Yeah. It could work. But Secret lost with that composition in game 1. Well, the Glaive Sky. But I'm sure they could have just made, secured.
Well,
some
game
of those
1 was
small
like
errors.
the Adagio played a really big factor in game 1.
Okay.
And now that Adagio's out of that picture, they can fight on equal footing. So they had that option, picking up that Sky or picking up that Blackfeather. But Team Secret is also very well known for also playing Kestrel, although I highly doubt it, especially given that Glaive was the first pick coming on the Cerberus.
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing that Kestrel a lot, but and maybe I've missed some matches, but it feels like they're only running that in buff comps from what I've seen.
Yeah, I think Cerberus here is probably gonna pick up a Ringo with this composition. Like over in North America, we have seen a lot of double weapon Ringo compositions with Ringo and Glaive, prioritizing grabbing a lot of that early bone saw, making sure that they get that armor piercing.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's really, really strong, and we've seen so much double weapon with that bone saw lately, and I don't know what caused it to come to the forefront. If it was just a change in players' opinion, some people started having success with it, and then they just went with it. Vox gonna be the pickup here.
You know, so we haven't seen too much Vox coming out so far in this tournament. Like, you know, every time there was a Vox, they haven't done too well for themselves, and you know, there's both Leon and Techno are amazing at Vox, and I do feel like they come at a disadvantage here, given the fact that they might get outranged.
Talking about range, Scarf picked up into this. So this is most likely going to be double crystal out of Secret, I'd imagine, and that is incredibly deadly, assuming that they're able to have decent item and level progression right here.
But with Fortress, I don't feel Fortress synergizes with both Sky or Scarf very well, and I feel like that might be their one setback, their one weakness within this composition, where it's not as solidified as the comp coming out of Cerberus.
All right, well, let's see how it all plays out here. Rome doesn't like it too much. Maybe would have liked something else, guys, but we're into the game. They've got their picks. Let's see who's going to take game 3. Action Jackson and Scoundrel, take it away, guys.
Man, this has been a crazy series so far with two pretty strong showings for both of these teams. But moving into Game 3, sort of a radically different composition from Team Secret than we're used to seeing. And Qualifier right out of the gate picking up a Weapon Blade. That might just be to help him CS in lane. But we might be seeing Weapon Power Sky here. It is possible.
Oh, good goodness. Potentially. It definitely works. And I think with a Scarf as well, it would make sense. They want to make sure that they're not putting all of their eggs into that Crystal Power basket. So, yeah, I think we could potentially see a Weapon Power Sky here, which is something I haven't seen ever in competitive, but obviously I've had a very short experience in the competitive scene. But I would be excited to see it. I think this is an interesting competition from Gankstars as well. We haven't seen too much Vox today, and I would imagine it's going to be the more tried and tested Crystal Power Vox that we'll see coming out from Techno, given that he's got both the Arden and the Glaive in the jungle. So, yeah, this is an interesting one for me, and I don't know how Weapon Power Sky fits into this, if this is indeed going to be Qualifier playing that Weapon Power Sky.
Well, he's certainly doing a lot of damage already. Forward Barrage and Surrey Strike keeping him in position to get the auto attacks down on Techno
Really
JJ.
hurting.
Definitely going to be forcing him back a little bit. In the jungle, we do have a skirmish going on as well as Emmer King tries to get out of there. Mowgli and Majestic keeping the pressure up. And interesting, the Majestic is deciding to run the Scarf in the jungle this game. Certainly is an adaptation that we've seen teams go to occasionally. It does have a lot of damage early. So perhaps, when paired up with that Fortress, could be quite a strong aggressive combo. I don't think it's that synergetic though. Like, there are better combos. I would imagine.
Yeah, I think you're probably right in that respect. My issue is again that when you run a Scarf, especially versus a Glaive, you need to have some ability to at least keep him safe. I guess in this way they're saying, well, if you go for Scarf, then we're going to have this Weapon Power Sky, which by the way looks like it is going to be Weapon Power Sky. We're going to have this Weapon Power Sky that you can't really ignore. You know, you can't let her just sit there doing a basic attacks to you because they actually will hurt. So the more you chase after Scarf, the more damage our Weapon Power Sky is going to be doing. It's a little bit easier to get your damage off, I guess, as Weapon Power Sky, because all you need to do is auto attack the enemy heroes. But I'm interested to see how it scales as well.
King. Look at the damage coming across Majestic, really starting to put down the pain train. Qualifier wants to rotate down, but with that Spitfire missing now, you can see Leon attempting to turn things around a little bit. Up in the lane, Qualifier doing some good damage to Tetno as well, as he looks to make the rotation and help out the rest of Gankstars. They're going to spot out King, but Majestic doesn't go for it. Decides to play it safe and just fall back into the jungle. Yeah, I mean, one great thing about Weapon Power Sky is how easily you can position in fights. It's kind of like having Sonic Zoom on Vox, but you know your early game damage is a little bit stronger, so kind of like a hybrid between Vox and Ringo, I guess, a little bit.
Look at this Weapon Power. The fact that it's Weapon Power Sky has forced Vox into an early light armor, so I guess in some way delaying the build, but as a Vox you won't be too bothered about the fact that you're delaying your build path because you are a champion that does better in the later stages of the game. So he's saying, okay, I just want to survive laning phases as much as physically possible. But look at Team Secret, they're not letting up in this jungle. They are going round as a ganking squad here.
Necessary strike forward. Qualifier is quite low though, needs to pop the potion, try and get back here as Leon and Tetno focus onto him. They're just ignoring Majestic and Mowgli. Speaking of Majestic, he's not really getting the damage down that he needs to. King walks back into the fire, as you would say, but Majestic is going to get jumped on by Leon, stunned up. Can he kite backwards here? Tetno finishes up the kill, and Mowgli can't find King. Not a great invade coming across from Team Secret, given that they initiated that.
Yeah, it was actually just some good kiting around by Gankstars at this point. You know, Vox is very mobile. Leon hitting some good afterburns. That last afterburn onto Scarf, unfortunately unable to find the execute potential, which obviously spelt his doom because Scarf then was long enough range to auto attack without fear of a reciprocation. But yeah, it was a decent return here for Gankstars Cerberus, and they'll feel pretty happy with the result. But yeah, Team Secret looking like they are posing a multiple threat composition here, and actually, you know, I think this Weapon Power Sky could be really interesting.
Definitely could, but so far we haven't seen it do too much. Qualifier was basically the sole focus of the members of Gankstars Cerberus in the last fight, as they completely ignored Majestic, who also wasn't really getting very much damage down. And you know, this is the lackluster part about having the Scarf in the jungle. Although very early, you can actually put down quite a lot of damage, because once you get two abilities, you hit like a break point, and it's the same in lane. You know, you get Goop and Spitfire, you do a lot of damage, but ooh, okay, he's gonna be able to get away. But every level past that point, till you start getting items to complement them, you kind of fall off again. It's a bit of a bell curve, weighted towards, of course, the later games. So, yeah, Team Secret not able to get too much done in that fight.
So you got to remember with Sky that every time she gets an auto attack on a locked target, she gets that movement speed increase. It means as she is weapon power, she'll be able to continuously reposition just with the movement speed increase that she gets. And also remember, forward barrage, it does kind of scale in the sense with critical with weapon power, because it can critical strike. You know, the duration goes up with crystal power, but you can get the critical strike damage when you've got weapon power behind it. So there is some facets that allow Sky to perform as a weapon power carry. Interesting to see. I guess it's purely because they're running it with Scarf, and you don't want to again double up on your crystal power.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you there, and certainly I remember when they first introduced the critical strikes on Forward Barrage, they buffed it up a patch or two afterwards. So they've been trying, SCMC that is, been trying to maybe encourage that kind of play a little bit more. It hasn't been adopted by the population at large necessarily, but can be effective, and Qualifier, if anyone's going to do it, it could be him. Very strong player on the Sky and very strong laner in general. Gankstars there.
In 1.14, I think you were talking about she had critical damage bonus increase and weapon ratio bonus increase. So, you know, she has had some changes to her weapon power build, and it does mean that for Barrage, although it won't last as long, if you are positioned incredibly well, it can be a really hard-hitting ability.
Absolutely. The window of opportunity to do the damage is less, but you do more if you land it. Opportunistically, Qualifier is going to be looking towards landing those big chunking forward barrages. Goldmine started by Team Secret here, but Gankstars has forced them back, and now taking up position in the jungle just to make sure that they don't go for it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Goldmine will be left by either team at this point. And Qualifier picking up that Sorrow Blade early on will start to look to do some damage. I imagine Critical Strike will be on the menu ASAP. Could either be, I guess, a Tornado Trigger, or could go for the Tyrant Monocle.
It's interesting. I feel like this build for Qualifier is going to spike much later than actually going Crystal would. Because with Crystal, Forward Barrage just does a lot right off the bat. But with this weapon power build, you need weapon power and crit. So you have to get at least 2 items to spike in the same kind of way that just getting like 4 or 5 crystal bits does when you're playing Crystal Power Sky.
Absolutely.
Death from above going to get popped there, but Gankstars have already backed away. So far, both of these teams just matching each other in movements across the map pretty perfectly, back and forth from the lane.
It looks like it's going to be Tornado Trigger here for Qualifier instead of the Tyrant's Monocle, so really going in on the critical strike damage and the attack speed. The attack speed is going to allow her to reposition very quickly, obviously with the use of her passive, so you get huge amounts of positioning ability when you have those basic attacks onto a locked target, so really enjoying this build path from Qualifier. I want to see how it works when it starts to spike and does damage, you know, into the later stages, because realistically, given how mobile this Sky is going to be and how much of a threat I think she will become, you know, Leon is gone Tension Bow, so you would expect now that given he went for that item instead of a Sorrow Blade, he's going to give up his early game spike if he doesn't manage to abuse it, and then go towards a more tank build, and you're going to be relying on Techno JJ on this Vox to carry the team fights. It makes sense that you've got a Vox that you would choose to go for something like a Tension Bow and then build into tank.
Yeah, this is something we see from Glaives. Not super frequently, but when you have a Vox especially, it makes sense just to really encourage him to do well in the early game. Qualifier is caught in right now, though. Look at this. He has no way out. Surrey Strike just going to knock him into Leon. Wait for it, silencing up Mowgli and Majestic, stopping them from really helping out too much. Mowgli, right before that fight, I was going to mention, he hasn't finished his Fountain of Renewal yet. Still sitting on the Life Spring, so couldn't do a great deal to help Qualifier in that situation.
No, he's only just now finished the fountain, so just a little bit late on that. But honestly, Team Secret, there is still gold ahead at this point in time. I imagine if this minion mine or this gold mine goes down, then they will have that advantage. But Team Secret now.
Mowgli, he's got to pop that fountain here, but I actually think Leon should have gone for the kill on Mowgli immediately rather than knocking back Majestic. You see the gold mine very, very low. It goes the way of Gankstars Cerberus, but Qualifier is here to try and clean things up. He's got Surrey Strike up. Yet again, gonna use that to get a bit closer to Leon and leave Majestic to clean up Emmer King. But he's not in range for Leon, and another Afterburn comes out. His 2 kills traded away for 1 and the gold mine. Definitely a better trade for the side of Gankstars Cerberus. But Team Secret might be able to find a bit more off the back of this, stealing away camps.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to actually make up some of their gold advantage again by stealing as many camps as possible. And Sky, as weapon power, is going to chunk through a lot of these camps. They managed to steal away everything from the backside of the jungle, including some of these forward camps as well. So Sky going to be very happy with that. They're going to stretch their gold lead back out to 700. Not quite as substantial as it was previously, but that, you know, that gold mine really did help out Gankstars Cerberus in that case. But yeah, I think this is working out quite well. It's going to be that Tornado Trigger finished fairly soon for Qualifier. We've got the Broken Myth here for Majestic. I imagine he'll either go for Eve of Harvest or for a Frostburn next. Lots of Reflex Block picked up to deal with the Afterburn and also the Gauntlet, so we are seeing a good amount of defense picked up early on here for Team Secret. And now we're just relying on Techno JJ, I guess, for Gankstars. But actually, I said that Tornado Tension Bow might have been the end of it for Leon. Looks like he's actually going to go for some heavy steel into some more weapon power here.
Oh, that's the gauntlet. Hang on a second. Emmer King trying to start off this fight. Qualifier has kited back, though, and Leon gets melted. Mowgli wants to turn up the heat along with Majestic. They're diving onto the back line, and with that Dragon Breath and Spitfire, Majestic is going to help out, picking up a second kill. Turret should not last too much longer, and Techno could be in a bad spot here as well if Qualifier decides to dive in with Mowgli, but he decides to play it safe, very low on the energy, doesn't want to overcommit. Team Secret flipping a switch there and suddenly making the plays happen.
Yeah, it was all of those reflex blocks. The main reflex block we saw used there was Qualifier. He was able to get through the gauntlet very easily. Afterburn came through, but he was actually beyond Leon at that point, and Leon couldn't punt him back towards the Techno JJ that could have been picking him up. So that just allowed Qualifier, using that passive, to move away, use that forward barrage, burn through Leon, and then able to chase after. This is the thing about Weapon Power Sky. She's incredible at chasing people down. Really good at chasing people down, just because of that bonus movement speed that she received. So, you know, you see that if they get the advantage in these fights and then the retreat happens from Gankstars Cerberus, Team Secret are able to just turn a switch and really start to chase them down. Especially with Fortress 2.
That is a very good point. The amount of movement speed they're going to be able to accrue in these fights is pretty tremendous. Right now, Team Secret looking towards the gold mine, though, and Gankstars have something to say about this. Starting to move forward. Suri Strike keeps Qualifier back. They do find the gold mine as well, and Leon gets chunked out in a big way. Emmer King extremely low as well. Walking into that death from above, does not have a safe way back to the turret. He's going to be going down first for Gankstars Cerberus. Team Secret move forward, maybe look for a little bit more. Leon waiting in the wings, trying to find that afterburn, but look at this. Almost 400 damage per Spitfire coming across from Majestic. He's really starting to lay down the pain, and Leon and Techno cannot defend this turret. Qualifier, also with the crits, starting to do pretty beefy amounts of damage on the front line, just forcing Leo and Techno back even further. This is starting to look quite bad for Gankstars, I gotta be honest.
I think was looking bad for Gankstars a while ago. It's actually Tyrant's Monocle, so that Tornado Trigger just there as an attack speed item, and Tyrant Monocle. Now, I actually prefer the Tyrant Monocle here, Jackson, over Tornado Trigger, because you're just giving yourself extra critical strike chance instead of attack speed, which you don't necessarily need. And the weapon power is really going to aid your buffing of forward barrage. So I really like Tyrant's Monocle over Tornado Trigger. I was thinking Tornado Trigger was going to be a slightly odd choice given how much critical strike chance you get from the Monocle as opposed to the Trigger. So we'll have to see if this really helps out in terms of the burst damage that Qualifier can put through. But right now, this Weapon Power Sky may not reflect it in the stats because a lot of the kills are being picked up by Majestic, but I think a lot of damage is on the side of Qualifier here.
I'd very much like to know actually like what his damage numbers are after this game, because I think Leon with no armor, we keep seeing him just have his health bar disappear. I think it's largely Qualifier doing that.
Yeah,
and well, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I'm really not like, I mean, look, I don't like to criticize too much. I mean, actually, that's a lie. I like to criticize a lot. But I really don't like to see Leon, the build path he's gone. You know, he's gone Tension Bow first. That would spell to me that he was looking to abuse something in the early game. And then, you know, you leave it and go towards a more defensive build because you've got a Vox, right? Vox has got his 2 items spiked now. Even he built armor, and he's not the front line. He built it, obviously, for lane against the Sky, but Leon realistically should have some form of armor by now. Because
I think
Qualifier
that comparison really highlights it, right? Like, if Leon is, if Techno's even buying armor, then Leon absolutely should be. And I also think that just going more aggressive items in general, unless you make an impact with your Tension Bow, doesn't make sense. And frankly, there wasn't an impact from that Tension Bow. Right now, you see Team Secret starting to shove down onto this turret. Kraken's still very healthy. And also, they're killing turrets pretty quickly with Qualifier's damage. Majestics as well. They're very strong at the moment. Qualifier does get stunned up by Mowgli. Great gauntlet coming across. Qualifier needs to try and get back. Fountain gets popped. Emmer King does not have any way of jumping on top of him. The wait for it does not do enough damage. Qualifier wants Techno. He goes down in exchange, but Techno just barely gets back onto the fountain. Meanwhile, on the flip side, Leon went down. Kraken's still healthy. I think Team Secret is about to close out this game, Scoundrel. Nothing that Techno can do 1 versus 2 plus a Kraken. It's going to be Team Secret taking the lead in the series 2-1.
Yeah, looks like Techno trying to provide a form of distraction, but it won't be enough. The Vein Crystal will be going down here. Team Secret taking the next game in a row to level it up. or rather, sorry, go ahead 2-1. And honestly, I really disagree with the build that Leon went. He was just getting melted in these fights, and it really showed. You know, you have to respect the amount of damage that a weapon power Skye can put out. Leon, if you go tension bow, you have to make use of it. If you don't make use of it, scrap your entire plan for weapon power. Go into, I'm going to keep Vox safe, Atlas Pauldrons. Atlas Pauldrons should have been that item coming out, or even maybe a full metal jacket if you weren't expecting to get within range of Atlas Pauldrons for the Skye. I don't know what was going through his mind when that heavy steel came out. He was like, oh, maybe the tension bow didn't work, but maybe if I just add some more weapon power, I'll be able to deal with this guy. Nope, nope, nope.
I've got to agree with you. I think it was maybe a little bit too tunnel vision there for the side of GSC and of course Leon in